Hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Rose, and today we're going to be doing a September wrap-up. So it is the last day of September 2025, and let me tell you, this month has been a struggle. I am halfway through my second 60-day challenge of trying to do something in the realm of ketovore slash carnivore, and I've just been struggling. I have had 9 days, five. I've had 9 days total where I went over my allotted 25 grams of carbs for this challenge. Typically, I like to stay somewhere around 20 or less just because my body feels better that way, but I gave myself a cap for this challenge of like 20 to 25 grams of carbs. So any day that I missed or went over that, I counted it as a loss. And in total, I have 9 days that are a loss, which means that I have not had a consecutive week of being in ketosis. In fact, I think I only made it to ketosis maybe once or twice. So overall, for the month, I'm still going to take it as a win per my parameters. However, it's not really a win, if that makes sense, because like the goal is ketosis. The goal is starting to heal the chronic junk that I deal with, and most of the problem was, and the thing is, I know exactly why I'm having a problem. I just don't necessarily have the momentum built up again to overcome it. And I'm going to avoid the word motivation because I don't actually think motivation is a real thing. Based on my research on addiction and keto, motivation is really just where your dopamine is at in whatever cycle your brain is going through. So when you feel really motivated, it's because you're getting that dopamine hit. You have a higher amount of dopamine in your system, which is rare for me. I suffer from major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, those kind of mental things that cause a chronic depletion in dopamine. So rarely do I ever have motivation to do anything. What makes me do a lot of things is discipline, which I clearly don't have yet. And I also have a problem with over consuming food. And part of that stems from me having food sensory issues. I have not been diagnosed with anything, but it does follow a lot of the RFED trends sometimes. But mostly I think it's just because I have brain damage from my cerebral palsy, or brain damage causing the cerebral palsy is actually more accurate. So eating in any way, shape, or form a Whole Foods anything is super hard for me because the highly processed stuff is such a safe, reliable, consistent texture. But I can tell you, based off of all of the other diets I've tried leading up to this point, that I feel the best eating a low to no carb, predominantly animal-based diet. Now, I do have vegetables every now and again, which puts me more to a ketovore slash keto realm, and that's okay. I'm not really hung up on the labels myself. I'm just not hung up on the labels. Like it doesn't really matter as long as my health is improving, right? So a lot of my struggles this month have been I kind of went on a string cheese hyperfixation. So I was eating a lot of string cheese, and dairy not only is inflammatory, but it is a great way to gain weight. So the last couple of days, I've really cut back down to only allowing myself 2 pieces of cheese a day. And I say that because I either do the Tillamook rectangles or I do the mozzarella string cheese. And then keeping cream and stuff to either a serving of eggs, which for me is 3 whole eggs plus 1 to 2 egg equivalent of egg whites, and or my coffee, right? So I am slowly getting back to what I was doing on the first challenge when I was successful. So I did take my measurements last night, because I have been stepping on the scale all month. I have not gained or lost. Well, that's not true. I've lost 2 pounds from the start of September, but I'm really majority unchanged. My measurements are pretty close to where I was at the end of last month. I'm a couple inches down in my natural waist area, but everything else is pretty much the same, which tells me that I have not been eating in a calorie deficit. I have been eating to maintenance. Even though it has been better food choices, I'm still meeting the criteria to maintain the weight I'm at, which is not what the goal is, right? I'm on a journey to lose 100 pounds. I'm 282 right now, and I want to be 180. So, I really think that I didn't make any progress because I have been allowing myself to do a slide backwards. There was really no excuse. There's no reason. I have been taking my stress and going, well, I'm stressed, so I'm going to eat. Or I'm bored, so I'm going to eat. Oh, well, I'm eating whole foods, so that doesn't matter. Well, it does. The answer is it does matter. It's a problem. And I need to stop it. It's not good for my health. It's not good for my back. I've got degenerative disc disease, which is a deterioration in my spine, and I'm sure other joints will follow. I've got a lot of pain in my knees, and in my right hip. All of the problems I have from cerebral palsy affecting my alignment in my body and how I walk impacts the degenerative disc disease and all of the pain and inflammation that comes from that. And on top of that, I also have POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which basically means anytime I move my body into a different position, so sitting to standing, standing to laying down to sitting, if I ever make the mistake of going from laying down to standing, that is going to be a me hitting the floor kind of moment. So it's categorized by heart rate, blood pressure changes upon changing your posture, which then impacts everything because it also comes with added inflammation, migraines. Like, there's a whole bunch of comorbidity junk that I deal with. And so I used those as an excuse to eat more. Well, I need to eat food because I don't have a gallbladder and I'm going to have GI problems if I don't eat something now. Which, though, is accurate. I could have made better choices. I could have reached for a protein shake instead of 4 mozzarella string cheese sticks. I could have thawed a steak and made that for dinner instead of having pork rinds and hot sauce. I could have made eggs and bacon and sausage instead of, like the hypothetical goes on and on and on. I could have made the choice not to make the low carb keto cheesecake bites, which are a favorite, but I know from personal experience this month that I will sit down and I will eat 10 of them, which means I'm eating 20 grams of carbs right there or more, depending on the recipe, right? If I make a base to the cheesecake, that's 4 grams of carbs per mini bite. And because I have no self-control and I have a food overconsumption problem, I will just sit there and I will eat the entire tray of goodness. So it's a problem. I am the entire problem for myself. And my husband looked at me the other night and he asked me, like, how can I help you through this? And I thanked him. And I said, there is nothing you can do to help me through this. He's like, well, we could not have those foods in the house. And I'm like, well, we can't do that because you're not eating the same way I'm eating. And we have a 3-year-old. She's autistic. Her comfort foods are things like pasta and rice and all of the carbs that I intrinsically crave. So thank you so much for that, but we can't really do anything. And quite frankly, this is a me problem. If I can't get myself under control, then all hope is lost because I have to do it. No one else can do this for me. And it really just made me happy that I have his support. But it also made me realize that I am not really having the food cravings anymore. Like, mentally, I still want them. But physically, I'm not necessarily craving those foods anymore. Which is... It tells me that I'm getting closer and closer to maintaining ketosis. Because my body is no longer craving a depleted glycogen store. Because my body is learning to run on ketones, which my body prefers. So what do I consider victories for this month? 100% my lack of food cravings. I do need to get myself over the mental side of this, but the fact that I'm not physically craving them anymore is huge. It's also one of those things where, like, my mouth will still water talking about them, but I can look at, like when I make my Goblin sweet potato fries at home, I can look at them and go, and walk away, or I will say out loud, like, damn, I want this. But I have chicken, or I have a steak, or I can go make whatever. So that willpower is starting to stack. And again, willpower is in the same boat as motivation. It's all based on dopamine. However, that discipline that comes with motivation is starting to accumulate. And the fact that I didn't gain this month is also a victory. And I know that's such a low bar, but coming from somebody who chronically does not care about themselves, which I know is a mental problem, I'm working on it. Not sitting down and consuming a family size anything or, more than that. Like, I can sit down and I can smash an entire large pizza and then some. So the fact that I have not done those kinds of habits is awesome. That is 100% a victory. I am set up for next month, in a way that I wish I had been better in September, but going into October, I have a solid foundation to then build upon, because I've taken care of some of the cravings. I've started routines like planning meals on Sunday and then grocery shopping on Monday. I have started making changes in other aspects of my life. Like, I am almost 20,000 words into a novel that I'm writing, and that gives me confidence to then take on other aspects of my life. I am taking a tax course to hopefully get employed doing that here soon. I'm taking steps to better not only myself, but my family, and that confidence boost has helped me want to take control of my food, because I don't like the way I look in my work clothes. Granted, I'm about a size bigger than I used to be in work clothes, so I've had to go and purchase a couple of interview outfits. And the vain part of me wants to go into a room wearing nice clothes and just have heads turn. I want to walk down the stairs and show my husband what I'm wearing and his jaw hit the floor. Like, he already thinks I'm beautiful, and he tells me that every day, but I don't feel it. And until I feel it, nothing's gonna change, right? So what are my plans for October? So October is one of my favorite months. We get a lot of the fall weather coming in here in Colorado. We get a lot of the thunderstorms and the lightning, which I love. It's always a double-edged sword there, though, because the low pressure really messes with my pots and my ability to function. However, I love the sound of the rainstorms. I am also turning 32 in October, which, despite feeling old, which I know I'm not that old, but I feel it. Halloween is in October. It's one of my favorite holidays. So there's a lot of fun things going on in October. And what I've done is I have, before I started this challenge, I cataloged all of the meat, all of the protein in my house, and we've started meal planning. So I know what I am making or what my husband is making every day of the week. So it's not just, oh, well, you want to go grab X, Y, and Z. We have set the meal plan, and we are doing really well with it. I say we, mostly me, because I'm the one who at 4 o'clock is starting to cook the meals for when my husband brings my kid home. And we're really starting to transition to a low carb household, which is really awesome. It's really helpful. What I do is I make a protein for the house, something that I've either never tried before or I know I like. Obviously, those are the two options, right? But we're going through our meat stash, and then I will make a vegetable if my husband wants it, because my child won't eat it, and a safe kind of carbohydrate that my child will eat, and then everybody meaning my husband and my child, will get a bit of everything, and then I will do the protein and maybe some of the veg. And that's just going to be our routine. It's going to be very boring, but it's going to be consistent. What I'm also planning on doing for accountability purposes is on Sunday, I'm going to be recording a weekly recap to be posted either Sunday night or Monday morning, to keep myself accountable, to really do highs and lows, to document this process for myself. We're also going to keep up my research videos because I think they are so much fun to do. I learn a lot. It gives me a better understanding of what my body's doing, what my child is doing, what research is out there and what they're finding, which I think is super important, considering that I am electing to eat this way. Where I'm also going to be doing at the end of October is getting my thyroid rechecked, because I was having some weird numbers in August, and I asked my doctor if we could wait till the end of October, which will give me 2 full months of cleaner eating to really compare results, and she was thrilled with that. She is so happy that I'm eating the way I am eating, and I am very fortunate to have a medical professional who is on board with this little experiment of mine. And that's what we're doing. So we are just going to continue. My plan is to hit 5 days or less of going over the 25 grams of carbs. Obviously, my goal is 20 or less, but I will give myself that little wiggle room. I will be logging my macros. So I have this book right here. It's super tiny, so I can just throw it in my purse. And I have already started, but the pages look like this. So we've got our macros going on. I'm not going to be too focused on the calories. I'm going to make sure that I'm eating at least 1,800, with a goal of about 2,000 calories. I believe my maintenance is somewhere around 2,300 or 2,400. So we're aiming for a 400 calorie deficit that should get me 1 to 2 pounds a week, depending on how much inflammation and water weight my body naturally flushes. I will still be consuming a copious amount of electrolytes just because I have POTS and my kidneys seem to just flush more salt than they should. I've started my research on a POTS and keto video, and while there is I have not found decent research on that yet. I don't think there is going to be, but I can at least learn about the condition and then draw parallels. So it's all going to be just the words are missing. So it's going to be more of a causal link. That's good enough. A causal link instead of research-backed information. But it's still going to give me a better understanding of what my body is doing, what I'm going through, and all of that fun stuff. So, and maybe how and why the ketogenic diet is really helping. So I'm really excited about that. If you guys have any suggestions of what I should be researching, let me know in the comments. I would love to get suggestions or questions that I can really sink my teeth into and really get to some kind of answer. So yeah, that's all for now. I will see you guys in about 7 days here, and we'll see how I'm doing.